There is a serious situation, flooding situation happening in Kissimmee in Osceola County. A number of rescues probably needed, but we do understand that, Lewis, that you saw the rescue happen with a deputy who stalled out their patrol car in that deep water.
I did, Justin. We are starting to see more emergency vehicles out here, which is really needed. We're on OBT, and this is one of the side streets. This is Bonita Street, and there's an ambulance down there. You can see the red flashing lights. Earlier, I was talking about trying to get around these side streets and how you really can't get very far because the water is so deep. But it's good news that there is an emergency vehicle down here. You mentioned that rescue that we saw. It happened right down here on OBT. You can see the one car that's stalled out. Here's another truck that's coming down through here and probably not going to make it very far. This is exactly where we saw that Osceola County Sheriff's Deputy SUV stall out. And a while ago, they actually had an airboat out here on OBT. If we can roll that video, there was an airboat that went to the deputy's SUV. We couldn't see it because it's so dark, but we're assuming that was to rescue the deputy who was in that SUV, and we can see more emergency vehicles that are in the distance there. They are definitely needed. We have heard over and over about Point Siena Circle. That's where several people had to leave their homes because the water got so high. We were told that there are still elderly people in those homes. One man says that his wife's grandmother called 911 because the water was getting into her home, and she was told that no one could get to her, so she would have to wait until morning perhaps. But we are seeing some emergency vehicles in the area, so hopefully they are able to get to those areas. We've been sounding the alarm that there is a lot of serious flooding. We just saw two people to walk past us a minute ago. If you look straight in the camera's view, I don't know if you can see it because it's so dark out here, but on this side, closer to us, from the flashing lights, there is a car. Earlier, I was trying to make out, was it a vehicle, was it not? Yes, it is. Because two people just walked past us a minute ago and said it's their car and they were trying to go get it. Probably not the best idea right now because the water is so deep and it's so dark and you can't really see what you're stepping into. But still, they were trying to go and get their vehicle. Again, probably not the best idea because it took an airboat in the middle of OBT to presumably rescue the deputy who was in that SUV. But the good news is we are seeing emergency vehicles now, and a while ago we were not seeing that at all. So hopefully they will be able to make it back into that neighborhood where so many people's houses were flooded. We talked to April, who said the water was up to her waist, then up to her chest. The water was so high in her house that she could not open the door. She and her 72-year-old mother had to climb out of a window. We heard her talk about her pets. She had cats that she had to put up on a high shelf, and she's just hoping that they're okay because she had to leave her home. The last time we saw them, they were under an overhang, and then they left that overhang and they walked about 2 blocks down the way to an Advent Health. People trying to get to the hospital, walking might be a little bit better, but we tried to drive by the hospital and you couldn't even get into the driveway. But hopefully if they are rescuing people, they can get them in so that they can be treated if they need to be treated. But it sounds like what they need more than anything is just to be out of those flooded houses. And again, we are seeing rescue vehicles, so that is good news. But there's another car that stalled out. So it's still bad here, and I'm hoping that people are watching us and and we're getting the word out that OBT headed towards downtown Kissimmee. It is not a good idea to drive through here. Every few minutes we see a car that does attempt it, and you see what happens. They get stalled out. Whoa! And the wind is picking up as well, and there goes my hat. But yeah, it is still windy, very windy right now. So we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio, and we're going to take cover right now because the wind is picking up. So we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, Lewis, thank you, and be safe out there. Like you were saying, Trooper Steve, you've never seen an airboat on 441.
I lived in Kissimmee my entire life. My goodness, this is real, y'all.
I mean, and then keep in mind that they have been hit by that area has been dealt with hurricanes before.
I remember being in high school. Francis came through, Charlie, and everything, and we had no power for like 7 days.
And really, Lewis, when he interviewed someone who had to leave, the woman who got up to her chest and she said, "I have to get out of here," couldn't open the door, had to go through a window. She said, "Yes, I've been through all these hurricanes. I've lived here my entire life. This is the worst flooding I have ever seen. My house has never done this before."
Yeah.
But let's talk about the rescue efforts and the difficulty behind those, especially when it's dark out as well. I mean, you're seeing these cars stall out, stall out, stall out. So getting back into this neighborhood, which is a point C in a circle, which seems to be really where these houses are getting levels of flooding that they have to escape. It's difficult. So that airboat will help them at least figure out who's okay if someone really needs to get out of there.
The airboats are pretty amazing tools to have. One and foremost, they can go on the ground, they can go on the water, stuff like that. But the problem is this area, the Poinciana Circle, and I do want to clarify for those that are listening, this is not the Poinciana community.
Right.
This is not South Osceola. This is 192 North, Poinciana Circle Road in the Kissimmee area. This is low-lying area.
And heavy populated,
Huge population there, very residential. If you drive through this area, it looks very commercial initially, but all behind that is nothing but layers and layers of homes.
It's not far from Old Town.
Actually, Old Town's on the far western portion.
Okay.
This would be closer to like Heritage Park along 192 in that area. This is old Kissimmee. This is old city of Kissimmee area. This is not the best shape of infrastructure. So I'm 35. I've never seen any flooding like that in my life in the city of Kissimmee. This is intense.
So that deputy who was rescued, they were responding.
Yeah, so the initial 911 calls that Lewis asked to be made were made, and they were trying to get out there. So they tried to approach that area from a different thing. I have sources here, I promise you I'm not making this stuff up. And the deputy was on the way. It happened with Lewis right in the back, and then boom, these Durangos are new to the agency and flooded instantly. The car stalled out, then they were already on the way to this area. Thank goodness the sheriff's office are already being proactive and responding out there. And they're like, listen, we need to get our deputy out of this car. So the deputy ended up being on top of the car. You could see this airboat there.
They can't open the door.
No, did not want to open it up. The airboat is part of the sheriff's office. They have an ag unit out there, several of these, and they were ready. The sheriff's office has been staged down there like everybody else for quite some time.
I'm curious where they were able to get that boat into the water. Where did
high ground?
Okay.
So high ground is where we would stage this stuff at in an area where 100% we know it's not going to flood. You know what I mean? And then with an airboat, you could literally unload it on the hard asphalt and just drive it right into the water and not have any issues. And that's why these airboats are such good resources out there. It's crazy. And from what I'm told also, there are active rescues happening right now also in the city of Orlando. So Orlando Police Department has started to put out some high water rescue situations right now in this area. Our producer has put this together to kind of let us know of what's going on. And this is city stuff that's happening right now. And I want people...
as you look at it too, that's a widespread, I mean,
Huge,
Primrose
Justin.
and Colonial, that's Colonial Town.
Right.
Then you have Cimarron near Lake Underhill.
Totally different spot.
Different. Hoffner, different. South OBT, I mean, that's a...
And then you're going to throw Richmond Heights in there.
And then Richmond Heights. So, yeah, it's not just a neighborhood. That is if there's high water rescues, that is a large pocket of Orlando. A lot of people, a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of houses.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And I was just looking at the history. There's an address on Poinciana Circle in Kissimmee, and the year built is 1958.
Right. So we're talking with some older homes here. And when you look at this, I want people to, what you guys just pointed out, this is scattered locations. Just because you're like, I'm good, There are other people going through really severe flooding right now, and this is joint operation. So you're talking with the Orlando Police Department, along with the Orlando Fire Department, Sheriff's Office, and the FD for the county. They have a team. These are boats going in, just like we saw into these areas. Even jet skis, believe it or not, you're going to see this stuff. The problem is it's going to linger, and that's what I'm concerned about.
We also talked about, not being out on the road, but if you do get stuck and your vehicle is starting to flood in and you don't have one of those special tools to crack the window to try to get out, you said there are some things you can do.
There are some things, but I'm not going to take credit for this because, Justin, you were the one that reminded me of exactly what it was. And it works perfectly.
You've seen the keychains where if...
Yep, I got plenty of them.
Right, and so you put that on there so you can crack your window in a certain area, but if you pop the headrest off of your seat, you put the end of one of those headrests and then you just
lower
slam
corner
it,
of the window, bottom
it will
left.
break it. Now, listen, hopefully you don't have to use that knowledge. But yeah, it's a situation where if you don't need to be on the roads, don't, and actually just don't go on the roads in general, especially if you know that certain areas, I mean, a lot of folks live here. We've had a lot of rain recently. If you've seen an area that's like, ooh, that's some ponding during a regular afternoon thunderstorm.
Today, it's a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And
it is.
It's a problem. I call it the Florida confidence. We as Floridians, we experience so much that we think, oh, this next storm, I got it. Look what we're dealing with right now.
Every storm is different.